3 hours earlier, everything had been normal. All right, listen up. Cadet Commander Marcus Webb shouted over the chatter in the briefing room. At 22, he was the oldest of the training squadron, with broad shoulders, dark skin, and the kind of natural authority that made even experienced officers take notice. We've got our first real space exercise today, and I don't want any screw-ups. The 30 cadets of Training Squadron 7 settled into their seats, their excitement barely contained. For most of them, this was the moment they'd been waiting for since joining the academy. Real ships, real space, real everything except the danger. Jamie Park sat in the front row, her small frame practically vibrating with nervous energy. Her black hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, but loose strands kept escaping to frame her round face. She'd been at the academy for 6 months now, the youngest cadet in her class, and she still felt like she was playing dress-up in her uniform. The scenario is simple, Marcus continued, pulling up a holographic star map. We're escorting a convoy through the outer reach. 6 cargo ships, 12 of us split between 4 patrol vessels. We'll be simulating pirate attacks, equipment failures, and navigation challenges. Boring, someone muttered from the back. A few people laughed. Marcus fixed them with a hard stare. Boring keeps you alive. Boring means you come home. Exciting is how people die. He let that sink in. The Horizon's Edge will be watching the whole time. Commander Vasquez herself will be evaluating our performance, so let's show her what Squadron 7 can do. Jamie raised her hand tentatively. What about the Keltherans? Are we near their space? The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the Keltherans. The war had been going on since before any of them were born. A brutal conflict that had cost millions of lives on both sides and showed no signs of ending. Marcus's expression softened. We're nowhere near the front lines, Park. The closest Keltheran position is 3 systems away. This is safe space, protected. You could sleep out there without a suit and nothing would happen to you. He smiled. Well, except for the dying and vacuum part. More laughter, this time relieved. Ship assignments are on your data pads, Marcus continued. We launch in 1 hour, dismissed. The room erupted in motion as cadets surged toward the exit, chattering excitedly. Jamie hung back, checking her assignment. KCV Steadfast, a Corvette-class vessel, small, fast, and according to her instructor. Perfect for learning without too much responsibility. Hey, Park. She turned to find Cadet Yuki Tanaka grinning at her. Yuki was 2 years older, tall and willowy, with an easy confidence that Jamie envied. They'd become friends during basic training, bonding over being the 2 smallest people in their unit. We're on the same ship, Yuki said, brandishing her data pad. You, me, Marcus, and Chen, the dream team. Jamie managed a smile. I'm nervous. Everyone's nervous their first time. Yuki threw an arm around her shoulders. But hey, what's the worst that could happen? We're literally doing the safest possible thing in the safest possible place. It's like learning to swim in a pool with floaties on. Jamie wanted to believe her. She really did. An hour later, she stood in the launch bay of the Horizon's Edge, staring up at the Steadfast. The Corvette was sleek and predatory, painted in the dark blue and silver of the Terran Defense Fleet. 30 meters long, bristling with sensor arrays and weapon pods that were, thankfully, loaded with training rounds only. Beautiful, isn't she? Marcus appeared beside her, his own duffel slung over one shoulder. I've been dying to fly one of these since I was 10 years old. Have you ever been in combat? Jamie asked quietly. Marcus's smile faded. No, most of us haven't. The war's been quiet the last few years. Mostly skirmishes on the border. He looked at her seriously. Why do you ask? Jamie shrugged, feeling foolish. Just wondering what it's like. Out there, for real. Well, today's not the day you'll find out. Marcus clapped her shoulder. Come on, let's get aboard. The interior of the Steadfast was cramped but efficient. Every surface served a purpose, every panel within arm's reach. Jamie found her station, communications and sensors, and strapped herself into the acceleration couch. Around her, the others did the same. Chen at navigation, Yuki at weapons, Marcus in the commander's seat. Pre-flight checks, Marcus ordered, his voice suddenly professional. Chen? Navigation systems green. Course plotted and locked. Yuki. Weapons offline. Training protocols engaged. All systems nominal. Park? Jamie's hands flew over her console, calling up screens she'd studied 100 times in simulation. Communications clear. Sensor array online. No contacts within 10,000 kilometers. Outstanding. Marcus keyed the intercom. Control, this is Steadfast. Ready for launch? Copy that, Steadfast. Commander Vasquez's voice filled the cabin. You are clear for departure. Good hunting, cadets. The launch bay doors opened, revealing the star field beyond. Jamie felt her breath catch. She'd seen space before, of course. Everyone had. But this was different. This was real. This was infinite. Taking us out, Chen said softly. The Steadfast lifted smoothly from its cradle and glided through the atmospheric containment field. One moment they were surrounded by the warm glow of the ship, the next by the cold light of distant stars. Jamie's console beeped. I'm picking up the convoy. 6 vessels, range 40,000 kilometers. On time and on course. Other patrol ships? Marcus asked. 3 contacts. Vigilant, Watchful, and Guardian. All reporting green status. Perfect. Marcus settled back in his seat. All right, people. 6 hours of absolutely nothing happening. Let's stay sharp and professional anyway. For 2 hours, that's exactly what they got. Nothing. The convoy moved through space at a steady pace, the patrol ships weaving around them in practiced patterns. Jamie monitored her screens, watching the peaceful emptiness of space scroll by. She was just starting to relax when her console screamed at her. Contact, Jamie shouted, her voice cracking. Massive contact! Range 200,000 kilometers and closing fast. Marcus was instantly alert. Show me! The main display flickered to life, showing a ship that made their Corvette look like a toy. 3 kilometers of armored hull, weapon ports that could swallow the Steadfast hull, and energy readings that made Jamie's sensors redline. That's a Keltheran dreadnought, Chen whispered. How? Yuki's hands were frozen over her weapons console. How is that even possible? This is protected space. Marcus stared at the screen, his face pale. All ships, this is Steadfast. Fall back to the horizon's edge, emergency protocols, move. The tiny patrol ships scattered like minnows from a shark, their engines flaring as they burned toward the safety of the Academy flagship. Behind them, the convoy tried to follow, their slower ships lumbering through space. It's not moving, Jamie said, confusion cutting through her fear. The dreadnought. It's just sitting there. Maybe it's a trap, Yuki said. Or maybe it's broken, Chen offered. Or maybe it's waiting, Marcus said grimly. The Steadfast slid into the horizon's edge's launch bay 3 minutes later. Jamie's hands were shaking so badly she could barely unstrap herself. Around her, the others looked equally rattled. Commander Vasquez was waiting for them on the deck, her face unreadable. Report to the bridge, she said simply. All of you. Now. They followed her in silence through the corridors. Jamie's mind raced. Was this part of the exercise? Some kind of advanced test they hadn't been told about? But the fear in Marcus's eyes said otherwise. This was real. The bridge was organized chaos. Officers moved between stations, voices clipped and professional. The holographic display showed the Keltheran ship in all its terrible glory, hanging in space like a sword of Damocles. We've received a transmission, Vasquez said without preamble. Play it back, Chen. The Keltheran voice filled the bridge again. Human vessel. This is War Leader Krythax of the Keltheran Empire. We surrender. Unconditionally. Jamie felt her knees go weak. This couldn't be happening. Keltherans didn't surrender. Everyone knew that. It was the one constant in a war full of variables. Why? Marcus asked. Why would they surrender to us? We're just cadets. Vasquez turned to look at them, and Jamie saw something in her eyes she'd never seen from an officer before. Uncertainty. That, Vasquez said quietly, is exactly what we're going to find out. The conference room felt too small. Jamie sat between Marcus and Yuki, trying not to fidget as Commander Vasquez paced at the head of the table. Around them, the other senior cadets of Squadron 7 waited in tense silence. Through the windows, the Keltheran dreadnought hung in space like a monument to their confusion. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Lieutenant Rodriguez said from his position at the wall. The tactical officer was a scarred veteran with gray in his beard and eyes that had seen too much. The most dangerous warship in the known galaxy just surrendered to a training vessel full of teenagers. That's the situation, yes, Vasquez said. And they specifically asked for humans? Not just humans. Vasquez pulled up the translated transmission transcript. They asked for the legends, the demons who walk like gods. She looked around the table. Anyone have any idea what that means? Silence. There are stories, Chen said hesitantly. Everyone turned to look at him. My grandmother told me. Before she passed. She fought in the early war, first contact era. She said the Keltherans were terrified of us. Not just militarily, existentially. Like we were something that shouldn't exist. Go on, Vasquez encouraged. Chen shifted uncomfortably. She said it was because of how we fought. Keltherans have honor codes, warrior traditions, rules of engagement that go back thousands of years. But humans? We ignored all of it. We used tactics they considered dishonorable. We fought in ways that broke their understanding of warfare. Guerrilla tactics, Rodriguez said, nodding. Asymmetric warfare. We were smaller, weaker, so we fought dirty. Not dirty, Chen corrected carefully. Creative. We used the environment. We set traps. We pretended to retreat and then ambushed them. We used biological warfare, psychological operations, false surrenders. All things prohibited by the Keltheran warrior code, Vasquez finished. We were ghosts to them, unpredictable, unknowable. Jamie raised her hand slightly. But that was 40 years ago. The war's been conventional for decades now. Fleet actions, territory exchanges, the usual stuff. Why would they still be scared? Because we never stopped being creative, Marcus said slowly. Every time they adapt to one tactic, we invent 3 more. Every time they think they understand us, we do something completely unexpected. Yuki leaned forward. You're saying they see us as bogeymen, as something supernatural. I'm saying, Marcus said, that to a species with rigid honor codes and predictable battle tactics, humans must look like chaos incarnate. The room fell silent as that sank in. There's something else, Vasquez said. She pulled up a new display. We've been monitoring Keltheran communications for the last 6 months. There's been chatter about something called the human curse. Reports of entire fleets going dark. Colonies found abandoned. Ships discovered drifting with no crew. Pirates? Rodriguez suggested. That's what we thought. But according to the intelligence reports, the Keltherans think it's us. They think humans have some kind of supernatural weapon, something that makes people vanish. Jamie felt a chill run down her spine. Do we? Of course not, Vasquez said. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what they believe. She stood up straighter. War leader Krethax has agreed to a face-to-face meeting. On neutral ground, he wants to negotiate terms of surrender with human representatives. You can't be serious, Rodriguez said. Ma'am, with all due respect, this is obviously a trap. They're going to grab our people and use them for leverage. Perhaps, Vasquez acknowledged, but we're not sending a diplomatic team. She looked directly at Marcus. We're sending the cadets! The room erupted in protest. Jamie heard herself speaking among the others, though she couldn't quite process what she was saying. This was insane. This was suicide. Vasquez held up a hand for silence. Listen to me. All of you. This is happening whether we like it or not. The Keltheran commander specifically requested to speak with young humans, with fresh demons, in his words. He wants proof that every generation of humanity produces warriors like the ones he's read about in their intelligence reports. So, we're going to put children in front of an alien, warlord to satisfy his curiosity. Rodriguez looked ready to mutiny. We're going to send a delegation that includes young officers under heavy guard and supervision, Vasquez corrected. And before anyone asks, yes, this comes from the top. Fleet Command wants to know what's happening. Why the Keltherans are suddenly terrified. What changed? She looked at each of them in turn. I won't order any of you to go. This is strictly volunteer, but I need 6 cadets willing to walk onto that dreadnought and find out what they're so afraid of. Marcus stood immediately. I'll go. Marcus, Vasquez started. I'm the senior cadet, ma'am. If anyone's going, it should be me. He looked around at the others. I'll need 5 more, Yuki stood. I'm in. Chen rose slowly. Me too. Jamie found herself standing before her brain caught up with her body. I'll go. 3 more cadets stood in quick succession. Vasquez looked at them with something like pride mixed with regret. You understand the risks, she said. This could be a trap. Could be a massacre. Could be the start of something we can't control. Understood, ma'am, Marcus said. Then we leave in 2 hours. Vasquez turned to Rodriguez. Start putting together a security team. Marines, full combat gear, but they stay on our ship. I don't want to provoke anything. As the meeting broke up, Jamie found herself standing at the window. staring at the Keltheran dreadnought. It looked like a sleeping dragon, massive, powerful, and potentially deadly. "Hey." Yuki appeared beside her. "You okay?" "No," Jamie admitted. "I'm terrified." "Good, me too," Yuki smiled weakly. "But we're going anyway. Why?" Jamie turned to face her friend. "Why are we doing this?" Yuki was quiet for a moment. "Because someone has to. And because," she struggled for words, "because maybe we can end this, the war, all of it. If they're really surrendering, if they're really that scared, maybe we can finally have peace." Jamie wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe they were heroes on the verge of a great achievement. But all she could think about was how small she felt, and how big the universe was, and how very, very far from home they were. 2 hours later, she stood in the launch bay again, this time wearing full combat armor. It was heavy and uncomfortable, designed for soldiers much larger than her. The helmet felt like a cage. Marcus was doing final equipment checks, his voice calm and methodical over the team comm. Around them, 30 Marines in full battle gear stood ready to provide backup if things went wrong. "Remember," Commander Vasquez said, addressing the cadet team, "you're observers. You ask questions, you listen, and you get out. Do not make any promises. Do not agree to anything. Your job is to gather information and return safely." "Yes, ma'am," they chorused. "And cadets?" Vasquez's voice softened. "Be careful. Whatever's happening over there, whatever they think you are, use it. Let them be afraid. Let them see you as legends. It might be the only thing keeping you alive." The shuttle ride to the dreadnought took 10 minutes that felt like hours. Jamie watched through the viewport as the massive alien ship grew larger and larger, blotting out the stars. Up close, it was even more terrifying. A city made of weapons and armor, scarred by 1,000 battles. "Docking in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Jamie's heart hammered so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. Beside her, Yuki gripped her weapon with white knuckles. Chen's breathing was too fast over the comm. The shuttle connected with a soft thud. The airlock hissed. "Here we go," Marcus said quietly. The inner door opened, revealing a corridor that was definitely not designed for human proportions. Everything was bigger, taller, built for creatures that towered over them. The lighting was wrong, more red than white, and the air smelled of something Jamie couldn't identify. Something alien. 6 Keltheran warriors waited for them. Jamie had seen pictures, of course, videos, but nothing prepared her for the reality. They were massive, 3 meters tall, covered in armored plates that looked organic, with 4 arms ending in clawed hands. Their faces were elongated, almost reptilian, with eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light, and every single one of them was kneeling. "Honored demons," the lead Keltheran said, his voice deep and resonant through the translator. "War Leader Krythax awaits you on the command bridge. Please follow us." They walked through the corridors in silence, their footsteps echoing off metal walls. Jamie noticed things as they passed. Crew members pressing themselves against the walls to let them pass. Weapons that had been deliberately deactivated. Blast doors standing open in violation of every security protocol she'd ever learned. The Keltherans weren't just surrendering. They were making themselves completely vulnerable. The command bridge was enormous, a cathedral of war with displays showing star charts and weapon systems and 1,000 tactical readouts. And in the center, standing before a massive viewport showing the stars, was the largest Keltheran Jamie had ever seen. War Leader Krythax stood nearly 4 meters tall, his armor etched with markings that Jamie guessed were battle honors. His forearms were spread wide in what their briefing had said was a gesture of peace. His eyes, a deep glowing amber, fixed on them with an intensity that made Jamie want to run. "Humans," he said, his voice making the air vibrate. "Young warriors. Fresh demons," he tilted his head. "You are not what I expected." Marcus stepped forward, somehow managing to project confidence despite being a third of the alien size. "War Leader Krythax, I'm Cadet Commander Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Academy. We're here to discuss your surrender." Krythax's mouth opened in what might have been a laugh or a grimace. "My surrender, yes." He gestured to the viewport. "Do you know how many battles this ship has fought, young demon? How many worlds it has conquered? How many enemies it has destroyed?" "No, sir," Marcus said carefully. 347. Krythax's voice was heavy with something like grief. 347 victories. and now I surrender it to children who have never seen combat. Why? The word escaped Jamie before she could stop it. Every Keltheran on the bridge turned to stare at her. Jamie felt her face burn, but she forced herself to stand straight. Krythax moved toward her, each step making the deck vibrate. He stopped just meters away, looking down at her with those glowing eyes. Why? He repeated. Because I saw what you did to the Vrexian hegemony. We didn't... Marcus started. 12 colonies. Krythax continued as if Marcus hadn't spoken. 12 military installations. 2 fleet staging areas. All gone, all empty. Not destroyed, emptied. The Vrexians simply vanished. He looked at each of them in turn. We know it was you. The humans, using some weapon we cannot comprehend. Some power that violates the very laws of war. We don't have any such weapon, Chen said. I swear we didn't. Then explain the colony on Vrex Prime, Krythax demanded. Explain how 2 million Vrexians disappeared overnight, leaving their cities intact, their defenses operational, their meals half-eaten. Explain how there was no battle, no struggle, no sign of what happened to them. Jamie exchanged glances with Marcus. This was news to them. All of them. We didn't know about that, Marcus said slowly. I swear to you on my honor, the Terran Defense Fleet had nothing to do with whatever happened to the Vrexians. Then who? Krythax's voice rose. Who possesses such power? Who can make entire populations vanish like ghosts? Who fights without fighting, kills without killing, wins without ever revealing their presence? He leaned down, his face close enough that Jamie could smell his breath, hot and metallic. That is why we surrender. Not because you are stronger. Not because you are better warriors, but because you are incomprehensible. You are chaos given form. You are nightmares that walk and speak and laugh while empires crumble around you. He straightened. So I give you my ship, my crew, my honor. Because fighting you would be like fighting the void itself. Pointless and suicidal and ultimately meaningless. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of monitors. There's something else, Yuki said quietly. Something you're not telling us. Krythax's eyes fixed on her. Clever demon. Yes, there is something else. He turned to the viewport. 2 days ago I received a message. From the Keltheran High Command. Do you know what it said? No one answered. It said the war is over. It said humanity has won. Not through conquest, through fear. Through the systematic dismantling of every species that opposes you. Through methods we cannot counter. Weapons we cannot defend against and tactics we cannot predict. He turned back to face them. It said that humanity is the universe's apex predator. And that we have 2 choices. Surrender or join the Vrexians in oblivion. Jamie felt like the deck had dropped out from under her. This wasn't just one ship surrendering. This was the entire Keltheran Empire giving up. And you chose surrender, Marcus said. I chose survival. Krythax spread his arms wide. So here I am. Here is my ship, my crew, my life. Do with us what you will, demons. We are yours. The silence stretched out, heavy and oppressive. Jamie's mind raced. Something was very wrong here. The Vrexians had been neutral in the human-Keltheran conflict. Why would humanity, if it even was humanity, target them? And what about this supposed weapon that made people disappear? War leader, Chen said carefully. I think there's been a terrible mistake. No mistake, Krythax said firmly. I have seen the evidence. I have read the reports. I have spoken with survivors who witnessed the vanishings. This is no mistake, young demon. This is the truth of what you are. But we're not, Jamie started. A massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights died instantly, replaced by emergency red. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Jamie was thrown to the deck, her armored body sliding across the metal floor. Around her, she heard shouts in human and Keltheran. What's happening? Marcus yelled over the comm. Unknown. The response came from their shuttle pilot. Something just fired on the dreadnought. Multiple impacts. The horizon's edge is taking evasive action. Through the viewport, Jamie saw flashes of light in the darkness. Ships, lots of them, sleek black vessels that seemed to drink in the starlight, moving with a grace that made human and Keltheran ships look clumsy. New contacts, someone screamed. Unknown design. They're targeting everyone. Us, the convoy, the Keltherans. The communication cut off in a burst of static. Krythax was back on his feet, roaring orders in his own language. His crew scrambled to their stations. The bridge lit up with tactical displays showing a battlefield none of them had expected. Demons, Krethak said, and now there was something like desperate hope in his voice. Show us. Show us why we should fear you. Show us the weapons that make civilizations vanish. Show us. Another explosion much closer. The entire ship rang like a bell. Jamie saw fire blossom along one of the dreadnought's flanks. Shields failing, a Keltheran officer reported. Hull breach on decks 12 through 15. Marcus was on his feet, already moving toward their shuttle. We need to get back to our ship. But Jamie stood frozen, staring at the black vessels on the display. At their impossible movements, their devastating weapons, their complete disregard for both human and Keltheran forces. And suddenly, with terrible clarity, she understood. They think it's us, she whispered. What? Yuki grabbed her arm. Jamie turned to face Krathax. The Vrexians. The disappearances. The weapon everyone's so afraid of. She gestured at the display. It's not us. It's them. Krathax stared at her, then at the display, then back at her. Then we are all dead, he said simply. The next explosion tore through the dreadnought's port side like paper. Jamie felt the shockwave even through her armor, heard the scream of metal and the hiss of atmosphere venting into space. The command bridge tilted violently and she found herself sliding across the deck toward a bulkhead that was coming up way too fast. Strong hands caught her. Marcus had his magnetic boots activated, anchored to the floor, and he held Jamie steady as the ship shuddered beneath them. Everyone activate mag boots, he ordered over the team comm. Chen, try to raise the horizon's edge. Yuki helped the Keltherans stabilize their systems. Marcus, we need to evacuate. Chen's voice was high with panic. This ship is coming apart. Where exactly do you suggest we go? Marcus snapped back. In case you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a battle. Through the viewport, the space around them had transformed into hell. The black ships, Jamie counted at least 20 of them, moved through the battlefield like sharks, their weapons tearing through shields and armor with contemptuous ease. The convoy ships were already gone, reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The patrol vessels were trying to fight back, but their training weapons were useless, and the horizon's edge was burning. Jamie saw atmosphere streaming from at least 6 breaches along the Academy flagship's hull. Its weapons were firing, but the shots went wide, unable to track the black ship's impossible movements. As she watched, one of the unknown vessels simply phased through the horizon's edge's shields and fired point-blank into its engine section. No, Jamie heard herself scream. Commander Vasquez's voice crackled over the comm, broken by static. All units. Under attack. Unknown hostiles. Attempting to protect the convoy, but the signal died. Horizon's edge, come in. Chen worked his console frantically. Commander Vasquez, please respond. Silence. They're gone, one of the Keltheran officers said, his voice hollow. Your flagship. Your commander, all gone. Just like the Vrexians. Vanished. Not vanished, Jamie said, her voice strange even to her own ears. She pointed at the display. Look, the ship's still there. Still transmitting power signatures. Still moving, it was true. The horizon's edge was drifting, dead in space, but it wasn't destroyed. The black ships had stopped firing on it, moving on to other targets. The Keltheran dreadnought, the remaining patrol vessels, anything that moved or fought back. They're not destroying us, Marcus said slowly. They're disabling us. For what? Yuki asked. Harvest, Krathax said. The war leader had managed to stabilize himself at his command console, all 4 arms working different controls. They are the Hollow Ones, the Void Walkers, legends older than the Keltheran Empire. He looked at them with eyes that held a terrible knowledge. They take. They consume. They leave nothing but empty shells behind. They're what took the Vrexians, Jamie said, and dozens of other species before them, Krathax confirmed. Entire civilizations over millions of years, gone, erased, with no survivors to tell the tale. He barked orders in Keltheran, and his crew responded with desperate efficiency. We thought they were myths, stories to frighten children, until they came for the Vrexians, until we saw the empty cities, the silent worlds. And you thought it was us? Chen looked incredulous. The timing was perfect, Krathax said. The Hollow Ones attacked immediately after the Vrexians signed a peace treaty with humanity. It appeared as though you had eliminated a potential ally to prevent them from sharing technology with us. His mandibles clicked in what might have been bitter laughter. We were wrong. So very wrong. Another impact. The lights flickered. Warning klaxons blared through the bridge. Shields at 12%, a Keltheran officer reported. We cannot sustain another direct hit. Then don't let them hit us directly, Marcus said. He moved to the tactical display, his fingers flying over controls designed for hands twice the size of his. War Leader, can your weapons target those ships? Our weapons are designed for honorable combat, Krithax said. For engagements where the enemy follows predictable patterns. These creatures are chaos, Marcus finished. Unpredictable, creative, fighting without rules. He looked up at the towering alien warrior. Sound familiar? Understanding dawned in Krithax's glowing eyes. You want us to fight like humans, he said. I want us to fight like we're desperate, Marcus corrected. Because we are. He gestured to the other cadets. Chen, you're on sensors. I need to know where those ships are going before they get there. Yuki, weapons coordination. Link our shuttle systems with the dreadnoughts targeting computers. Jamie, communications, Jamie said, already moving to the station. I'll try to raise any survivors from the horizon's edge and coordinate with the other patrol ships. Excellent. Marcus turned back to Krithax. War Leader, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Krithax stared at him for a long moment. Then he straightened, all forearms spreading in a gesture of acceptance. I surrendered my ship to you, young demon. I will surrender my tactics as well. He roared something in Keltheran, and his crew snapped to attention. My warriors await your orders. Good. Marcus pulled up the tactical display, showing the swarm of black ships circling like vultures. Then here's what we're going to do. 5 minutes later, Jamie was convinced Marcus had lost his mind. You want us to do what? She said over the private channel. Exactly what I said, Marcus replied calmly. We're going to pretend to be dead. The ship is already half dead. Chen protested. We don't need to pretend. No, listen. Marcus highlighted 3 of the black ships on the display. They're not attacking dead targets. They disabled the horizon's edge and moved on. They've ignored the destroyed convoy ships. They're only firing on vessels that show signs of resistance. So we stop resisting? Yuki sounded skeptical. We stop showing signs of resistance, Marcus corrected. Big difference. Krithax, can you power down all external systems? Make it look like we've lost main power. It is possible, Krithax said slowly. But it will leave us vulnerable. We're already vulnerable, Marcus pointed out. But if they think we're dead, they'll come close to investigate. And when they do, we activate everything at once and fire at point-blank range, Yuki finished, her eyes widening. A trap. A very human trap, Krithax said, and now there was something like approval in his voice. Dishonorable, clever, effective. He turned to his crew. You heard the demon. Power down all systems. Make them believe we are finished. The bridge lights died. The displays went dark. The gentle hum of life support faded to silence. In the sudden darkness, Jamie could hear her own breathing, loud and fast in her helmet. Stay calm, Marcus said softly over the comm. Everyone stay calm. This is going to work. Through the viewport, Jamie watched the black ships circling. They moved with an alien grace, their hulls seeming to shift and flow like liquid shadow. One of them broke formation, gliding toward the dreadnought. Contact approaching, Chen whispered. Range 2,000 meters. 1,000. 500. Not yet, Marcus said. The black ship moved alongside them, so close Jamie could see details in its hull. Patterns that hurt to look at. Angles that didn't quite make sense. Surfaces that seemed to exist in more dimensions than they should. Marcus, Yuki said urgently. Not yet. The ship extended something. A tendril? A probe? It reached toward the dreadnought's hull, began to pierce the armor like it wasn't even there. Now! Marcus roared. Every system on the dreadnought came online at once. Lights blazed. Shields snapped into existence. Weapons charged and fired, hundreds of them, all aimed at the same target. The black ship never had a chance. At that range, with that concentration of fire, even its impossible defenses couldn't hold. It shattered like glass, fragments spinning away into the void, and then it simply dissolved. Gone as if it had never existed. Target destroyed. A Keltheran officer shouted in triumph. Don't celebrate yet, Marcus said grimly. We just made ourselves a very tempting target. All power to shields. Evasive maneuvers. The remaining black ships swarmed toward them like angry wasps. The dreadnought's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel into motion. Too slow, too clumsy. Jamie saw weapons fire streaking toward them and knew they couldn't dodge in time. Then the patrol ship struck. The vigilant, watchful and guardian, The 3 surviving corvettes from the training exercise came in from 3 different angles, their own weapons blazing, not at the black ships but at the space around them. Chaff. Electromagnetic bursts. Sensor distortion, what are they doing? Krythax demanded. Creating noise, Jamie said, understanding flooding through her, making it hard for those things to target us. Steadfast, this is vigilant. A voice crackled over the comm. We saw what you did. Give us orders! Marcus didn't hesitate. All patrol ships, harassment patterns. Don't try to destroy them, just keep them confused. Make them chase you. Draw them away from the convoy survivors and the horizon's edge. Copy that. Moving to engage. The tiny patrol vessels danced through the battlefield, too small and fast for the black ships to easily target. They fired their training weapons, useless against armor but brilliant at creating sensor ghosts and false targets. The black ship's formation broke apart as they tried to chase multiple targets at once. It's working, Chen said. They're spreading out. Good. Marcus turned to Krythax. War leader, can this ship jump to faster than light? Our jump drive is damaged but functional. Why? Because we're going to use another very human tactic. Marcus smiled grimly. We're going to run away. But first we're going to make sure everyone else can run away too. He pulled up a star chart. Chen, calculate a jump that takes us right through the middle of their formation. Close enough that our drive wake will scramble their sensors. Yuki, charge every weapon we have. I want a full broadside the moment before we jump. Jamie, broadcast on all frequencies. Tell every ship in this system to follow us the second we enter faster than light. That's insane, Krythax said. The jump wake alone could destroy our own escort ships. Then they better jump at exactly the same time we do, Marcus said. It's risky. It's desperate. And it's the only chance we've got. For a heartbeat, Krythax just stared at him. Then his mandibles spread in what Jamie had learned to recognize as a Keltheran smile. Truly, you are demons, he said. Let us see if we can teach these hollow ones to fear. The next 3 minutes were the longest of Jamie's life. She coordinated with the patrol ships, with the survivors from the horizon's edge, with a damaged freighter that had somehow made it through the initial attack. All of them forming up behind the dreadnought, all of them preparing to jump at the same instant. They're pursuing, Chen called out. All contacts converging on our position. Perfect, Marcus said. The more bunched up they are, the better this works. Krythax on my mark, full speed directly at their center mass. You wish to ram them? I wish to make them think we're going to ram them. There's a difference. Yuki, weapons ready? All banks charged and targeted. Jamie, everyone ready to jump? Jamie checked her board. Green lights across the board. Ships that should have been enemies, now united by desperation and survival instinct. Ready? Then let's give them something to talk about. Marcus took a deep breath. All ahead full, engage. The dreadnought surged forward, its massive engines pushing it faster than it was ever designed to go. The black ships scattered, trying to avoid the collision, but Marcus had anticipated that. The moment they broke formation, he gave the order. Fire everything. The dreadnought's weapons spoke with one voice, a thunderous roar of energy and matter that lit up the darkness like a newborn star. At that range, 3 of the black ships simply ceased to exist. 4 more were damaged, spinning wildly off course. Jump drives at full power, Chen reported. All ships, jump on my mark, Jamie shouted into the comm. 3, 2, 1. Mark, reality twisted. Space folded. The stars stretched into lines of light and then silence. They were somewhere else. Somewhere safe. Jamie's sensors showed 11 ships around them. The dreadnought, 3 patrol vessels, the horizon's edge drifting but intact, and 6 other survivors. Behind them, the black ships were just confused sensor ghosts, unable to follow through the chaotic jump. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Nobody moved. They just floated in the darkness, alive against all odds. Then someone laughed. One of the Keltheran officers, a sound that was quickly joined by others, human and Keltheran alike, laughing with the mad relief of people who'd just survived the impossible. We did it, Yuki whispered. We actually did it. How many casualties? Marcus asked quietly. Jamie checked her displays and her relief evaporated. 18 ships destroyed. The convoy is gone. The horizon's edge is showing multiple hull breaches and I'm detecting fewer than 100 life signs aboard. Out of a crew of 300. The laughter died. But 100 survived, Krythax said firmly. 100 who would have been 0 without your tactics, young demon. Your chaos, Your human unwillingness to follow any rule but survival. He placed one massive hand on Marcus's shoulder. You fought like the legends say, and you won. We ran away, Marcus said. That's not winning. You saved lives. You destroyed an enemy that should have been invincible. You turned defeat into survival. Krythax's eyes gleamed. If that is not victory, then the word has no meaning. Jamie moved to the communications console. I'm picking up signals from the horizon's edge. They're requesting docking assistance. Tell them we'll send shuttles, Marcus said. And Jamie, see if you can reach Commander Vasquez. It took 10 minutes to establish a connection. When Vasquez's face finally appeared on the display, she looked 10 years older. Her uniform was torn, her face smudged with soot, but her eyes were clear. Cadet Commander Webb, she said formally. Report. We survived, ma'am, Marcus said. Most of us, anyway. The Keltheran dreadnought is under our protection, and War Leader Krythax has reaffirmed his surrender. I heard the whole thing, Vasquez said. Your tactics were reckless, improvised, and violated about 14 different regulations. Marcus straightened. Yes, ma'am. They also saved hundreds of lives and proved that humans and Keltherans can fight together. Vasquez's stern expression cracked slightly. Well done, all of you. Now get over here and help with rescue operations. We've got a lot of wounded and we need every hand we can get. Yes, ma'am. As the connection closed, Jamie felt something settle in her chest. They'd survived. They'd fought. They'd won, in a way. But the look in Vasquez's eyes, the grief behind her professional mask, told Jamie that the cost had been higher than any of them wanted to admit. Marcus, Chen said quietly. What do we do about them? The hollow ones? We warn everyone, Marcus said. We tell the fleet. We make sure every species knows what's out there. He looked at Krythax. And we make sure they know that humans and Keltherans can work together to fight it. A new alliance, Krythax said slowly. Born from necessity rather than treaty. Forged in battle rather than negotiation. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps this is the only way peace could ever have come between our species. Through shared enemies and shared survival. Jamie stared out the viewport at the damaged ships, at the mixing of human and Keltheran rescue vessels, at the impossible scene of former enemies working side by side. They thought we were legends, she said softly. They thought we were demons. And in a way, they were right. We became what they feared to save them from something worse. No, Marcus corrected gently. We became what we needed to be. That's what humans do. We adapt, we survive. We refuse to follow anyone's rules but our own. He looked around at his team, at the cadets who'd come aboard expecting a training exercise and instead found themselves in the middle of a war. At the Keltheran warriors who'd surrendered to children and found allies instead of conquerors. We're all legends now, he said. The question is, what kind of legends do we want to be? 3 days later, Jamie stood in the observation deck of the salvage station where they'd taken shelter, watching ships come and go through the viewport. The Terran Defense Fleet had arrived in force, 12 battleships, 30 support vessels, and enough firepower to crack a planet. They'd established a perimeter around the damaged ships, sent rescue teams, and begun the long process of understanding what had happened. And they'd sent diplomats to negotiate with the Keltherans. Quite a view, Commander Vasquez said, moving to stand beside her. Jamie straightened to attention, but Vasquez waved her at ease. The commander's arm was in a sling and she moved with a slight limp, but she was alive. Many others weren't. How many? Jamie asked quietly. Vasquez knew what she meant. Final count is 187 dead from the horizon's edge. Another 63 from the patrol ships and convoy. The Keltherans lost over 350 people gone, in a fight that shouldn't have happened, against an enemy they didn't know existed. The memorial service is tomorrow, Vasquez continued. Fleet Admiral Chen wants all cadets to attend. She paused. He also wants to commend you, all of you. Apparently, your actions have become the talk of the entire fleet. We just did what we had to, Jamie said. You did what veterans with 20 years of experience might not have managed. Vasquez turned to face her. You took command of an alien warship, coordinated a joint defense, and outsmarted an enemy that's been destroying civilizations for millions of years. That's not just anything, Cadet Park. Jamie felt her throat tighten. It doesn't feel like we won. Because you didn't, Vasquez said bluntly. You survived. That's different. Winning means you achieved your objectives without unacceptable losses. Surviving means you're still breathing to fight another day. She looked out at the ships. But sometimes survival is the only victory that matters. Are we going after them? Jamie asked. The hollow ones? Eventually. Right now, we're focused on understanding them. The science teams are analyzing every scrap of data from the battle, and we're sharing everything with the Keltherans. Vasquez smiled slightly. Did you know that War Leader Krethax has requested that you and your team remain as liaison officers? Jamie's eyes widened. What? He says you're the only humans he trusts. The only ones who've proven they can think like Keltherans and humans simultaneously. Vasquez's smile grew. I believe his exact words were, they fight with chaos but speak with honor. I don't know what to say. Say yes or say no. Either way, your training exercise just became the most important first contact in human history. Vasquez clapped her good hand on Jamie's shoulder. Welcome to the big leagues, Park. Try not to let it go to your head. She walked away, leaving Jamie alone with her thoughts and the stars. The door hissed open again a few minutes later. This time it was Marcus, Yuki, and Chen, all looking as exhausted as Jamie felt. There you are, Yuki said. We've been looking everywhere. Just thinking, Jamie said. About? Chen asked. About how we're supposed to go back to being cadets after this. About how we're supposed to sit in classrooms and run simulations when we've seen all of this. Marcus moved to stand at the viewport beside her. We don't go back. Not really. We go forward. He gestured to the ships outside. Look at that. Human and Keltheran vessels working together. Sharing supplies, sharing information, sharing space. A week ago, that would have been impossible. Now it's just normal. Because they're afraid, Jamie said. Because they think we're demons who can save them. Maybe, Marcus acknowledged. But fear gets people to the table. What keeps them there is trust, respect, shared goals. He looked at his team. We earned that, not through being scary, but through being competent, through working together, through being exactly what they needed us to be. Young demons, Yuki quoted with a slight smile. Fresh legends, Chen added. Or just scared kids doing their best. Jamie said. All of the above, Marcus said firmly. That's what being human is. We're scary and brilliant and terrified and brave all at the same time. We're chaos and order. Violence and compassion, saviors and survivors. He turned to face them fully. The Keltherans thought they knew what humans were. They were wrong. We're not demons or gods or monsters. We're just us, and apparently that's enough. A proximity alarm chimed softly. Through the viewport, a massive ship was approaching. A Keltheran vessel, but not the dreadnought. This one was even larger, more ornate, with markings that suggested it was important. That's the Supreme Council's flagship, Chen said, checking his data pad. They're here for the negotiations. And to see us, Yuki added. According to the schedule, they want to meet the human cadets who taught a war leader humility. Jamie groaned. Great, more pressure. Look at it this way, Marcus said. A week ago, the Keltherans wanted us dead. Now they want to meet us, learn from us, work with us. That's progress. It's terrifying progress, Jamie muttered. The best kind, Chen said cheerfully. They stood together in silence, watching the ships move through space. Human, Keltheran, and somewhere out there in the darkness, the hollow ones. A threat none of them fully understood, but one they would face together. Do you think we can win? Jamie asked quietly. Against an enemy that's been destroying civilizations for millions of years? I think we can survive, Marcus said. And if we survive long enough, smart enough, together enough, maybe we can find a way to win. He smiled. Besides, we've got something the hollow ones don't. What's that? Each other. Humans, Keltherans, maybe even other species once they hear what happened here. An alliance born from chaos and sealed with trust. Marcus looked at each of them in turn. That's worth fighting for. Jamie felt something settle in her chest. Not peace. She wasn't sure she'd feel peaceful again for a long time. But purpose, direction, a reason to move forward. So what do we do now? She asked. Now? Marcus checked his chronometer. Now we go meet with the Keltheran Supreme Council and try very hard not to accidentally start another war. And after that? Yuki asked. After that we figure out how to hunt monsters. Marcus's expression hardened. The hollow ones made a mistake. They attacked us. They showed us they exist. And the thing about humans is, we don't handle mysteries well. We poke them. We study them. We figure them out. He looked out at the stars. And then we beat them. Spoken like a true demon, a deep voice said behind them. They turned to find war leader Krythax standing in the doorway, his massive frame barely fitting through the human-sized entrance. He'd removed his armor, revealing scarred gray skin marked with glowing tattoos that pulsed softly in the dim light. War leader, Marcus said respectfully, we didn't hear you approach. You were too busy making speeches. Krythax's mandibles clicked in amusement. A very human trait. You talk much about what you will do instead of simply doing it. We're still learning, Jamie said. As are we. Krythax moved to join them at the viewport. I came to tell you that the Supreme Council has agreed to full military cooperation. Technology exchange, joint training programs, combined fleets. He paused. They have also agreed to your fleet's request to end the war. Officially, permanently. Silence fell over the observation deck. The war's over? Shen whispered. 40 years of conflict, Krythax said quietly. Millions of dead on both sides. Worlds burned. Families destroyed. All of it. Over. Because a group of cadets showed us that working together is stronger than fighting apart. We didn't end the war, Marcus protested. We just survived. You ended it the moment you accepted my surrender with honor instead of vengeance, Krythax corrected. You ended it when you fought beside my warriors instead of ordering them into suicide charges. You ended it when you risked your lives to save not just humans but Keltherans as well. His eyes glowed softly. You showed us that humans are not demons. You are warriors, honorable ones despite your chaos. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. The Supreme Council wants to give you medals, honor names, places in our historical records. His mandibles spread in a smile. But I told them the only thing young demons truly want is a good meal and some rest. So I arranged for both, human food prepared by your people aboard the fleet, and quarters where you will not be disturbed. Thank you, Jamie said sincerely. No, young demon, thank you. Krythax bowed slightly, a gesture of deep respect in Keltheran culture. You saved my crew. You saved my honor. You saved my people from making a terrible mistake. He straightened. If you ever need anything at all, you need only ask. The Keltheran Empire is in your debt. He left, his heavy footsteps fading down the corridor. The 4 cadets looked at each other. Did that really just happen? Yuki asked. I think so, Chen said. I'm not entirely sure this isn't all a really elaborate hallucination. If it is, it's a shared one, Marcus said. He started laughing, soft at first, then building until his shoulders shook. We went on a training exercise. A simple, boring, absolutely safe training exercise. And ended up in the middle of first contact with a hostile alien species. Yuki continued, starting to laugh too. And fought off an ancient enemy that destroys civilizations, Chen added. And ended a war, Jamie finished. She felt the laughter building in her chest. That slightly hysterical edge that comes from surviving the impossible. We ended a 40-year war. They collapsed against each other. Laughing until tears streamed down their faces, until their sides hurt, until the absurdity and terror and triumph of the last 3 days finally found release. When they finally sobered up, wiping their eyes, Marcus straightened his uniform. Come on, he said. I don't know about you, but I'm starving. And I want to enjoy this brief moment of peace before the universe throws something else at us. You think it will? Jamie asked as they headed for the door. I know it will, Marcus said. The hollow ones are still out there. There are probably a dozen other threats we don't even know about yet. And now that everyone thinks humans are these incredible tactical geniuses who can pull victory from impossible odds, he grinned. Yeah, the universe is definitely going to throw more at us. Wonderful, Yuki muttered. But we'll handle it, Marcus continued. Because that's what we do. We adapt, we survive. We make it up as we go along and somehow manage to come out the other side. They walked through the corridors of the station, past human and Keltheran personnel working side by side, past evidence of a new alliance being forged in the aftermath of crisis. Jamie felt something shift inside her, a recognition that nothing would ever be the same. Not for her, not for her team, not for humanity or the Keltherans or anyone else who'd survived the past 3 days. They'd stepped through a doorway into something larger, something more dangerous and more important than any of them had imagined when they'd woken up that morning for what they thought would be a routine training exercise. But they'd do it together. As a team, as friends, as young demons who'd learned that sometimes the greatest legends were just people doing their best when there was no other choice. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.